Sorry, can you guys hear me now? So I've been rambling for how long? Let me know if you guys can hear me now, please, so that I can rectify that. Okay, thank you very much. I've been rambling and I thought data said he can hear me. Maybe I didn't read that. We cannot. So sorry. So yeah, I was saying, seeing that Lukaku isn't in the lineup. If I'm correct, yeah, I'm going to refresh this. That I wouldn't go to the extent of, not starting him. He is a 100+ million player. So why bench him because of what he said? I'd rather, punish him in some other ways than, bench him because of his comments in the media, his interview. And, there are other ways like, finding him like a 2 weeks or 3 weeks salary that will hit him hard, and other players will learn from that situation. I'm all for the punishment so that we can do something about player power at that club. If you ask me, player power is the reason why we haven't had sustained success at Chelsea. So, but at this time that the team is depleted, it does not make sense to bench Lukaku right now. We need him. We paid so much money for him to come help us win trophies and score goals. So I'd play him and then find other ways to punish him so that such will not repeat at the club. But that is, by the way, anyway. I know today primarily the Chelsea fan base will be looking to see, since I think it started yesterday actually, whether Lukaku, the argument has been whether Lukaku should start or not start, bench him to make a statement. Again, I'm going to repeat myself one more time before we move ahead to the lineup, and I'll also put the link in the chat in case anybody wants to join me so that we can take analyze the lineup here. It doesn't make sense to bench him. He should start, and there are other ways to punish him so that it sends a message. But at this point, benching him, we've sent a message, but then again, we're causing ourselves more harm because the team is depleted. Yeah, so possibly, players, they have the way they behave to get what they want. They're like kids in some cases, throw tantrum. And in this case, the strategy may be, if you ask me, so that he start having issues with Chelsea, and Chelsea would decide to sell him, and Tottenham will come pick him up because he still has a good relationship with Kante. And if you remember a while ago, Kante did make a statement that Chelsea doesn't know how to use him. So it may have been, whatever he's doing now may have been in collaboration with Kante and Tottenham so that they can get him. But we'll see. Sending the message that the club is bigger than anyone is more important than the win. Well, if you say it that way, that's you. I don't know how else to phrase it so that you can see things from my own perspective. To me, it does not really make sense to pay 100 million plus for a player and then bench him because of his comments. You've practically given him his wish, if his wish is to leave Chelsea and go, play with Kante again. But that is by the way. There's more to it for sure, but Lukaku would have him booed in the stadium today if played. Debatable. It would be right or wrong. If he gets booed, he annoyed the fan base, and this is football. There's so much emotions involved. The fan base felt like, it's a betrayal overall, and like I did say in my comment in your post, it's utter disrespect for the club and the fan base. So I don't blame anybody who boos him in the stadium if he gets to play. So yeah, so I'm not surprised, okay? So he gets what he deserves. You're wrong, Kachula. The team needs to bench and find him. Both are great. Yeah, I think you guys win. We all approach things differently. You may bench him and then say, okay, you're done, and then forfeit the 100 million, or it depends on what he has in the contract. In some situations, he may be actually told you have to pay the club the money they paid to sign you. It depends on the situation. I remember the case of Adrian Mitu and Chelsea. I think he was ordered to pay Chelsea some amount of money. I don't think that will be the case this time because it was just an interview. and I'm not sure what's in his contract anyway. If you ask me, give us Kane or yeah, if they want him, yeah, it has to be in exchange with one of their fine players. I'd say Son. I don't think Kane will work with us very well. Live match, no. We don't do that here because it's a breach of copyright. We will infringe somebody else's property, so I don't want to do that. Hi, Felicia. Welcome to the stream. A weird one today for us.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. I can't complain. Thank you. Always good to have you. Yeah, the other players wouldn't pass to him. No, they wouldn't do that. They're all professionals. Had he been in the lineup, they will pass to him. But again, remember, this creates division in the squad. If his complaint is that the system doesn't suit him, there are other players also in the team that's been complaining that they don't like the system that the coach deploys. So this could easily divide the dressing room. Now he has people on his side who's okay with what he said about the system not suiting the way he plays. So yeah, again, I think whatever the club does, he's suiting what he does, his behavior, so to speak. Yes, maybe he didn't mean wrong, but what and when he did wasn't mature. He had a responsibility. We don't know how the team will consider him till the time things are cleared. The fact is, this kind of behavior, it's not something you can clear entirely. It will always be there. As long as it's at the club, it will always come up one way or the other. If he underperforms, the club will always go back to that issue. So it's not something you can really clear. There's no closure to this. The only proper closure will be Lukaku leaving Chelsea. I'm sorry to say that. That's what the situation is. And I'm going to repeat myself again. Will I bench him? No, I will not. Not at this time that we are depleted. I will find other ways to punish him so that such behavior will not repeat. So let's start with Lukaku since we're on it, Felicia. What do you think about the situation? And do you think leaving him out is the best option?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. I mean, this situation, the disciplinary action had to be taken. I mean, the best example would be, for instance, the likes of Aubameyang and Arteta. You see, Arteta put his fist forward and said, you know what, you might be the captain of the team, but I am the coach. And for Lukaku, it's of course a very entirely different situation. He went, did the interview, and then something had to be done. Of course, he's not happy, and as you said, it's gonna bring a split inside the squad. So some of the players might be on his side, some players might not be for him. And I think this was the best action to be taken. Now, if he's not happy with the system, why go do the interview? It all circulates back to why did he have to do it? He did not inform the team. He did not inform the coach. He did not even give anyone a heads up, including his agent, his friends. He just did it at the comfort of his home. So he knew what he was doing. It's not like he just the media house just budged onto him and just forced him to do the interview. So what he did, for my part, was just reckless. It was so reckless of him. He was naive to talk all these things. I wish he was more. I wish he inquired more about it. Just sat down, thought about it. How will this look after it comes out? And I feel like this is the best thing to do. Of course, in my starting 11, I didn't think that they would drop him because this is a big game. But then some fans were talking in the lines of, okay, if he comes to play, Thomas Tuchel will look like he's weak. Like despite the fact that he went to do this interview, backstabbed us, literally betrayed us, he's still starting him. It just shows like, okay, yeah, you're so big, but we still need you. So he has to. I think Thomas Tuchel had to put his fist forward and say, you know what, you might be so big, you might be big at Inter, you might be a very big striker, but at the end of the day, you are under me. You have to work under my rules. Yes, you don't like the system, but why didn't you approach me first? So there's so much controversy about this, and I think this was the best action. Probably not the best for this game because we might struggle, but at the end of the day, we did our best last season, and we did it without him. I mean, we were lucky enough to win the Champions League, so he is not that big. So if his ego is that big, he should just tone it down a little bit. And for me, I feel like it was one of the best disciplinary actions that should have been taken against him.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, we deal with issues differently. Like I've repeated myself like 5 million times now. I wouldn't go to the extent of benching him because it just doesn't make sense after paying 100 million plus. I will make
Yeah,
sure I punish him. I willed proportionate punishment for him and make sure it is public because if you keep it within closed doors, then it's
exactly.
not punishment if anybody doesn't know about it. So it all comes down to who's dealing with the situation. Here's a statement. I don't think it is his wish. He's just not very smart. He thought he was pleasing Inter fans. Here's the thing about this comments. This guy is rich. We can count him as rich at this point in his career. He's just making so much money weekly and millions of pounds or dollars yearly. So he has enough money to have advisors, people who read his contract, who understand, who will know beforehand if you do this, here are the implications. People who
Yes,
educate him, people who he should run things through them before he does it because he's a public figure. You don't just go out there and schedule an interview without the consent of the club you're playing for, without there are some layers of measures in place that I believe could have stopped him from doing this interview, and yet he went ahead with it. That means it's either he's employing some stupid people who doesn't, the foresight to see this is not okay. Or maybe after the interview, because you have the right, in some cases, it depends on the agreement you have with the interviewer to say, please don't release this. If you release this, I'm going to sue the life out of you because our agreement is that I must
exactly.
consent to you releasing it. So why not those things? It does seem as if, like Bobby said, yeah, to an extent, he's not that smart, or maybe he's not hiring the right people to help him present himself to the public. So he deals with it. It's not my own cup of tea. It's just I've been so pissed about the situation because we're talking about my club. So we're going to quickly go through the comments, catch up with it, and then we'll come back to the lineup and look at it. Then we have this coming from Phantom of Many Colors. And before I continue, I'll drop the link in the chat for anybody that wants to join. And we're going to keep it as short as possible and as quickly as possible and move on so that we have so much to talk about. We don't want longer answers. Yeah, we have the link in the chat. So now, looking at it, this comments here from, I think we've looked at this one. Yes, maybe. Yeah, when he did wasn't mature. Yeah, we've read that one. We've read this comment here by Bobby. And then we're going to Phantom of Many Colors. We wouldn't just be booed. He would get objects thrown at him. That's very, very possible. Stab, welcome to the stream. It's always good to have you around. Now, I think the booing thing, had he started and if he scored goals, I think let's score like a hat trick today. I think that could easily help sweep the matter under the floor, at least on the surface level. But within the club, they still have to do something to prove that the club is bigger than the player and not the other way around. So what do you think about this comment here about him being booed? Yeah, go ahead. You can go ahead.
I'll address that comment and then I'll give my opinion on the whole subject. First of all, if he's booed, then that should gear him up to actually try harder and make his point. So yes. I don't see that that's an issue. That should gear him on. If the fans had cheered him, that should boost him as well and get him going. Right? Now, back to this whole issue. Right? He was out of order, giving the interview without getting permission first. Okay? Now, I've watched the whole interview with the English translation.
We will still come back to this great comment by Max from Burton Ballerz. It's an important comment, but go ahead. We're taking the comments here one by one. Go ahead, Stav.
Yeah, I've seen the comment by Max, right? Mine is exactly the same, right? I have an issue with him doing it without the club, which nobody really knew before that, okay? With regards to his advisors, apparently they didn't know either. That's what I'm reading now. Okay. I have no issue with whatever he said. I watched the interview. Guy sort of manipulated the whole thing. Right? I watched. They did it in three parts. One part was led by an presenter saying that now we have more of the Romelu Lukaku interview. In this part, he states that he wants to leave the club. Nothing I read or he said meant anything like that. He never mentioned leaving the club. With regards to the system, right, I read that as well, and he was personally criticising himself more than any coach or the system. He said that he found a new system, or module as he called it, right, difficult, but as a professional, it took for him to adapt, okay, and that he was working with the coach, which I'm assuming was in training, right, to get round that. Nothing. He did not criticise Tuchel. He did not criticise the system. He didn't criticise the fans or the club in any way or form. Yes, he was wrong to do it without permission, but nothing he said was any different from anything Eden Hazard said when he left Chelsea, anything Didier Drogba said when he left Chelsea. Nobody had a complaint when Drogba returned, right, and bowed to all four stands wearing a Galatasaray shirt in front of 3,000 Galatasaray fans, not even Galatasaray fans, right? Another point I'd like to make while I'm on, and I'll stop, is that this is a black man who went to a deeply nationalist country, okay, was welcomed by Inter Milan fans, right, and to show him and his family love. And all he was trying to do, it's the first time he's had a chance to have an interview with Italian TV, right? And he was basically just thanking them and trying to explain why he left. He stated that Man City had approached him and he turned them down last January. He went to Inter, he asked for an extension because he wanted to stay until the end of his career, right? But they couldn't offer him one, and he said, whilst other footballers covered going to Barcelona, Real Madrid, or Bayern Munich at this moment in time, he was only interested in Chelsea.
Here's the thing, Stav. Go ahead, because I wanted to get to Max quickly because we don't have too much time. We have just 30 minutes more. Go ahead.
He stated, right, that Inter were okay with selling him. They told him he could go, so he chose Chelsea. He could quite easily have contacted Man City and asked them if they were still interested if he was that bad, right? I don't understand this, right? He did nothing, right, other than in the comments that was derogatory to Chelsea, right? He did not leave for money, and he was actually offered more money by Manchester City last January. When Man City couldn't get Kane, he could have contacted them and tried to come back in.
You have echo, Stav.
Not me.
Okay.
Not me. Right?
Okay, go ahead.
But he didn't. Right? And as soon as Chelsea came in, he signed quickly, and the deal was done. The only reason he arrived late was because he had to go to his agent, right, to sign some other stuff up. But nothing he said for me, right?
Yeah, so I understand your point. As for me,
I have no problem with them doing it behind closed doors, fining him, yeah, giving the money to a local kids charity or something, right? But dropping him in such a big game, right, I have an issue with. But I've now heard, right, this isn't as yet unconfirmed, Tim Howard, his former Everton teammate, has said that there's big news coming, but it can't be given till tomorrow because Lukaku has one more meeting with the board on Monday morning. Right? So for me, I think he's leaving. I think he's on his way out.
Look, as for me, the issue, and by the way, Data will still come back to that comment about Vlahovic. But let's quickly go through Lukaku's case and then look at the lineup and see what we have on there. And first, it's important that I welcome a very important guest, a surprise guest today. Two of them are Max from Burton Ballerz, great channel, well acquainted with the history of the club. He's followed the club like for a billion years and understands the club in and out. And also Phantom of Many Colors, a very good friend of mine and somebody who also loves the club and knows the club. Thank you there for that great input, Stav. I appreciate that. Max, coming to you, for me, in my case, I know you always have other, how do I, programs to attend. Quickly from you, would you have gone to the extent of dropping him on the bench, given that we paid 100 million plus to bring him to the club? If you ask me, I'd say there are other ways. I'm coming. Yeah, I'm coming. There are other ways to punish him. Just make it public so that it hits him hard, not to the. Go ahead, Max.
I'm with Stav on a lot of what he says. So I don't want to sort of go over that. In that, to give the interview without the club's permission, I was under the impression that he had the club's permission, and he instigated the interview. So for that reason, he had to be punished for that reason. His words, as I said, I didn't have an issue with. I know a lot of fans are very emotional about it all, and I interpreted it the same way as Stav did, in that he was more concerned about he's not happy with his form rather than the Chelsea form. So people can interpret it the way they want, on a negative or a positive, okay? And even the people getting upset about the fact where he said, he wanted to stay at Inter. We all know that he wants to stay at Inter anyway, because before he came to Chelsea, he said he wanted to get a new contract with Inter. So he's not saying anything different there. And a lot of Chelsea fans didn't want him in the first place. They wanted Haaland, let's be honest. Most Chelsea fans did. Most Chelsea fans.
No, that's a fact. And I know Felicia knows that.
Yeah. And also, people, even when Haaland wasn't a possibility, and I went on a lot of streams arguing the case for Lukaku to come to Chelsea. They still didn't want him there. So why are they upset now that he said that Chelsea weren't his first choice? He wasn't Chelsea fans' first choice as well. So they're hypocrites who say that, But it is basically, I'm just putting it out there. But for what he did, as I said, giving the interview was totally wrong, and he should have, been punished for that. But to be dropped from the team altogether, I think that creates more noise as far as I'm concerned, especially in a big game. Because if we lose this game now, people are going to be talking about this situation. Oh, why isn't who's on the echo? Was it Phantom? Is it your thing, Phantom?
Somebody else. Somebody's causing an echo. Can we all mute us?
Yeah, so for me, that's creating more noise to the club. Had he played today, scored a couple of goals against Liverpool, then this could have been kind of quashed a bit, okay? And the noise would have kind of died down. And I always say I like people to do their talking on the pitch, not off the pitch. If he came on and put in a fantastic performance as an apology to the fans, that's the best way that he can answer us all, okay? But having said that, I don't know what went on in a couple of days after the interview. I don't know what went on. Was Thomas Tuchel not happy with what he said in his clear the air meetings? Was there an issue with some of the players on the training pitch as well? I don't know. If there was an issue and that's the reason why he's been dropped, then I can understand that. If it's a case of just to prove a point, I think it's a case of cutting off your nose to spite your face in this situation, because this is a game that we need him for. A big fine for me, and don't do it again. If you do it again, then there'll be more severe punishments would suffice. But if that was the case, but as I said, I'm not party to all the information, so I don't know. I can't give a definitive of what is this the right thing to do or not. So I'll leave it at that. You're on mute, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Most people argue otherwise, and some even want the club to sell him. And my argument is that it doesn't make sense to bench him, especially at this point where the team is depleted players are out due to injuries. Some are out because they contracted COVID. So it doesn't make sense to pay that much money for somebody. And because of the comment, and like you said, I think the whole thing is blown out of context. He hasn't said anything that he didn't say before. The timing of it is what I have issue with. And if you're trying to please the Inter fans, at least run it with your media person, run it through your advisors who will tell you, look, this could lead to a backlash, a serious backlash that will cause you problems at the club. And now it's a big issue. Maybe it's even deeper than we are seeing on the surface, but we don't know. So Max, it's always great to have you available, and I appreciate you finding time to join and voice your opinion here. So we'll go through phantom of many topics and quickly so that we can talk about the lineup, which is why we're here. We're not going to let the discussion about Lukaku take up the whole show because what has happened, and we cannot change the situation right now. So, Phantom, over to you. Would you have dropped him on the bench because of the whole situation?
I'll tell you what. If I'm Havertz, if I'm Pulisic, if I'm one of those other players, I would go up to Tuchel and say, you have to bench him because we're not going to pass to him if you don't bench him. Because that's probably what happened inside the locker room.
Here's something I want to let you know. In terms of players are not going to pass to him. If you're making the statement from the perspective that he has issues with the system, there are other players in the team who also have issues with the system. So I don't think these guys are professionals. They're not going to do that. It's not a primary school game where such can happen.
That's professionals, but obviously Lukaku is not a professional. There's nothing from displayed. Lukaku is an ego.
Are you sure you're not just being judgmental right now, Phantom?
No, I'm not. Because I remember I'm a military veteran. He had to do this. I mean, Tuchel had to do this, otherwise he just lost control of the locker room.
Yeah, it was about.
The game doesn't matter to Tuchel. You think Tuchel, Tuchel's not afraid of being fired from Chelsea either, because if Tuchel was fired tomorrow, there'd be a line of 6, 7, 8 different teams wanting his services, beginning with Newcastle, right? Among other teams, right? I mean, there'd be a lot of teams, especially in the Bundesliga too, right? There'd be a whole line of
Phantom. He's going to pay 97. Unless we're going to take half. We'd lose 50 million pounds for him in 3 months, basically, because no one's going to pay 97 million pounds for him. That's what we got.
Well, here's the idea, right? Because Levy values Kane at $140 million, so we just tag $40 million onto Lukaku and say, give us Kane. 40 mil plus Lukaku, you give us Kane.
Again, there's that possibility, high chances there's more to this whole, how do I phrase it, trouble than we know. From what we've seen on the surface, I don't think we're just making more to the situation than it is, discussing divisions within the fan base and issues in the dressing room. Because believe me, whether we like it or not, whether he's on the pitch or off the pitch after this whole issue, is still, to some measure, will affect the team. But for me, how I would deal with this type of situation, I'm going to repeat myself again, and then we will look at the lineup. I will not go to the extent of benching him. I will actually, a man like Jose Mourinho, who is actually even stricter, if you ask me, than Thomas Tuchel, would put him on the pitch, say, okay, here's your chance. Show the fans you really love to be here. Score goals, help us win this game. And then you can punish him in other ways and make it public so that it hits him hard. This guy earns up to more than £200,000 a week. If you fine him for like 3 weeks, that's like $750. It would touch him.
Take him out of the game and fine him for 3 weeks. That way,
very possible. I mean, we all deal with things differently, and that's me. That's how I deal with it. And what people deal with things different. But I understand your point.
You know what? I'm selfish, and me as a selfish player, I want our best team out there to win a match of football.
Me too.
Okay, it may not be principle or whatever, but I just want the best team out there. And
in America,
if if we're sacrificing a couple of wins, and let's be honest, guys, the way that Tottenham and Arsenal are coming up on our coattails, don't forget about challenging for the title. If we have a couple of bad results, we can be sucked in for a race for the top 4 based on principle, and we could be out of the top 4. So we've thrown away 100 million on Lukaku, and we've thrown away potential money earning by being out of the top 4.
Yeah.
If everyone's happy with that, then fair enough, fine. But I'm
Yeah. It's a great point right there. So this treatment of dropping him, leaving him out of the team entirely, it doesn't solve the player power issue at Chelsea, which everybody is saying this is a time to make a statement. It just asks, how else do I phrase it so that it makes sense? You get a product, a very costly product, and then it malfunctions a bit, but it still works. You just throw it out of the window, forgetting how much you pay for it. It doesn't make sense. The best way I deal with that situation is not to buy that product whenever I want to buy another one next time. I don't know how to phrase it so that it makes sense. So let's just go to the lineup right away. And please, wherever you're watching from, if we have up to 30 people on YouTube today watching, we'll do another giveaway because it's New Year. We often do giveaway here to appreciate those in the chat that always support the channel. So, but we have to have 30 people in the chat here on YouTube. We have up to 26, 30 people watching before, but they're all over, on other platforms like Twitter and Facebook. So if you can come to Facebook, join us, subscribe, make sure you hit the smash that like button, and then hit the notification button so you don't miss anything. Let's go straight to the lineup, and we'll start from where that's a bit of a surprise if you ask me. I'm not going to talk about the back 3 because it is perfect if you ask me, given that Thiago Silva has recovered and he trained with the team. Let me know if I'm looking at the right lineup. I think I am. I've refreshed it. I think it's not the probable lineup. This is the lineup proper. And by the way, just so I don't get into trouble, I'm using an app called FOTMOB. It has a desktop application. You can also download it for your phone. It has Apple and then Android. So now, looking at the lineup, Max, I'll start from you. The midfield, a surprise for you that Jorginho isn't starting, and instead Kovacic was looked as if he isn't match fit, or do you think otherwise?
You know what? I'm not surprised really, because Jorginho hasn't been fit as well, because he's been carrying that hip injury. That performance against Brighton, he wasn't good. He was losing possession a lot. His passing was all over the place. Liverpool are going to be on top of him, just like Brighton, like Basuma was. That's what Fabinho is going to be on him. He's going to be pressuring. He would have been pressuring him. And I think the way Liverpool are going to play today as well, because we've got no pace up front apart from Pulisic, they're going to be squeezing that pitch, okay, and they're going to be pressing us high. So we've got Kante and Kovacic. They are 2 guys who can bypass the press. They can run away from the press. Kovacic's got good close dribbling skills, and I think we need that sort of attribute rather than Jorginho at the moment. As I said, he needs to get fully fit for me, because the last few games he's been playing with an injury. So I think it's more.
Yeah, great point right there. Jorginho looked out of place. He looked off. He looked confused against Brighton. I don't know if it was because of how much they pressed him. We were everywhere in that game. And I know Stav will probably host a party because Jorginho isn't playing today. So Stav, over to you before I go to Felicia and Phantom.
So you're talking to me?
Yeah, I said you'll probably host a party because Jorginho isn't playing.
Yeah, listen, right? I don't rate him as a player for high press Premier League games. Champions League, yes. European games, yes. Italy in their league, which is more the chess game, yes. Even for the international, because they're different platforms. But if he's high pressed and pressurised, he makes mistakes. And without Kante or Kovacic, he struggles because he hasn't got a minder or an outball. That's just my opinion on him. So I have got a question. Yeah, is Phantom still there?
Yeah, he's here.
All right, Phantom, why did you start supporting Chelsea? Right?
I think Phantom is gone.
No, I want to know the depth of his knowledge of Chelsea. because you said he's highly knowledgeable, and I want to know.
Okay, stop. The truth is, Phantom is not here. He's not here.
Right, well, I'll tell
He's
you
gone.
because I'll tell you because
so-
I've seen him. Right?
Yeah. So are you okay? Are you okay with the 2-6-6?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, of course I am. You know full well that I'd rather play a different system, but Tuchel's going to persist with the same system. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Crystal clear.
Right? Tuchel's going to persist with the same system. That's his choice, and if he does, then that's the best option for me. I would always pick them two, especially against a team that's going to high press them. Right? It's what Man City did when they came to Stamford Bridge, and they totally dominated us. Right? So I'm okay with the 2-6s. The reason I asked the question was because he started supporting Chelsea when we signed Pulisic. And I just want to relate that to the comment that he made. If he was Pulisic or Havertz, he would go to Tuchel and tell him that they won't pass to him. Havertz hasn't hardly passed to him anyway. Right? So I'm sorry, but that comment would relate to unprofessional attitude from them players too. Anyway, move on with the team. Go on.
Yeah, Felicia, what do you think about the 2-6s? Matt and I agree. Let's see today if you be on my side. Max and I agree, and I think Stav agrees. Stav, he doesn't hate Jorginho, but he doesn't think he's perfect for that role. He always highlights his efficiencies whenever opposition teams press him aggressively. So, Felicia, what's your point?
I mean, I agree. In terms of Jorginho, for instance, in the last game against Brighton, I think he was one of the people who propelled that goal that led to Brighton having a draw. He was losing the ball very carelessly. And in my starting 11, you should definitely check out my channel, Football Mania with Felicia, by the way. I mean, I mentioned that Jorginho might not be suited for this role, will need a lot of strength. And in terms of Kovacic, he's very creative. He's great with long passes. So in terms of Kante, too, Kante, he's all over the pitch. I mean, Man City, I remember during the Champions League game, they put out a tweet and said, Kante is everywhere. If we can just be able to tackle him, we can be able to nick in a goal and win the game. So in terms of the 2-6s, I agree. I mean, it's a very perfect role for them. I mean, we need the strength with all the saga going on, with all the noise that we have around us. This will be the perfect game for Kante. Although he just went out for injury, I think the last game, he was able to just play for 45 minutes. So it might be a struggle for him, but at the same time, we need the strength at the midfield. And we know how much Kante and Kovacic provide this for us. So I think it's a very nice choice for the midfield.
Yeah, great input right there. Let's quickly... Go ahead,
Can you
Max.
put Felicita's channel in the chat so that I can subscribe?
Sorry, what did you say? Oh,
No,
Felicia.
Felicia,
you got one new one of the biggest channels, one of the biggest, that is the most knowledgeable person in the Chelsea content creators will subscribe to your channel. So congratulations to you. That's a win, actually. So quickly, Max, coming to you. Let's talk about the two 2-6s and the system before we talk about the 2-8s, because it doesn't make sense to start from the back. The back is just as we expected, and Mendy being between the sticks. I have my argument there. I've always argued that Tuchel should start Izan and Kepa Arrizabalaga. That is now if that Mendy is available, so that the transition is seamless. So it doesn't seem to Kepa Arrizabalaga that, oh, now I'm important because Mendy isn't available. And the last game he played for us, he was brilliant between the stick. For me, that would have been a perfect opportunity to continue playing him so that he continues with a high confidence until Mendy leaves. But that's not me. We all do things differently. So let's talk about the system, Max. Now, about staff most especially hates this system. And for good reason, if you ask me, we can play a single six can suffice. And then we have the opportunity to deploy more players in the attack. But here's the thing. This system masks the deficiencies in our players. It is the most suited for the players we have at this point. If we switch systems without, bringing in personnel that are able to adapt to back four or however you want to, whatever formation you have in mind, then we have a big problem. So, Max, what do you think about the system and the complaint that we should switch the system even now with the personnel we have?
You know what? It's horses for courses, I think. I think against the likes of Liverpool and Man City, this system works against those teams because they are teams who come at us and we can hit them on a counter. Where this system doesn't work for me is when we're playing against low block teams where we can sacrifice one of the defensive minded players and bring in someone more attacking to give those clubs a different thing to think about. The problem with this system now is it relies heavily on our creative fullbacks. When we started to drop points, that was when Chilwell got injured. So what happened is, obviously, Alonso isn't as good on that side.
Yes.
They were plugging it over the other side by putting two men on Reece James, so he wasn't as effective. And when with the two in there today, I can't see us creating a lot from the wing areas because Azpillicueta, I've always said I do love him as a player, but in a wing back role, he doesn't give us enough in a forward situation. Defensively, he'll be strong against Liverpool, so that's why I don't mind it against Liverpool because he gives us that defensive platform. But I just don't see where the creativity is going to be coming from as such. And because we haven't got a lot of pace up front, apart from Pulisic, I could see, as I said, I could see Liverpool squeezing us by going up the pitch without having to worry about the pace in behind, because we haven't got, Havertz isn't the quickest, Mount isn't the quickest. The only one we've got with kind of lightning pace is going to be Pulisic in this lineup. So I'm just a bit worried about it. It may be a cagey affair.
Me too.
It could be a cagey affair, but I just hope Liverpool don't score early. If not, we can eke away a 0-0 draw or maybe get a goal on
draw. Right.
Can I
I think.
You talk for me, Coach. Can I clarify something? Right?
Yes.
I said that again, the same as Max just said about low block teams. Okay, these defenders who were not good enough, right, to play in another system.
We can't hear you, Star.
I said, can you hear me now?
Yes, crystal clear.
Right. I said that these defenders playing flat back forwards for their international team, right? I believe, based on what Tuchel said when he first arrived at the club, he spoke to people in the back room, right? And he formulated this system to suit what he believed we had, right? Now, if anybody is going to take our defensive capabilities under Lampard, much as I hate to insult him, he had not an ounce of defensive tactical prowess or capabilities, even as a player, let alone as a coach. He chopped and changed the defence. He played the zonal marking system, all this stuff. So there's no proof that those defenders can't play in a flat back four. So for a certain game, he could have tried it. I didn't say I don't like the system, right? But I did say, as Max just did, that it can work against certain teams. Okay. But
I was just looking for your trouble, Star.
Yeah. But what I said
I was just going to get you going. Go ahead.
Yeah. What I said to you is I want Tuchel to also be adaptable, not just the players. Right? We've got between 300 and 400 million worth of attacking talent, and over half of it sat on the bench, right, doing nothing, right? And he keeps chopping and changing. Just if he's going to adapt to what teams are playing, he needs to adapt himself as well, instead of sticking rigidly to a system. And teams do get wise to what you're going to do. They do find ways of countering it. Okay? And like Felicia said about Jorginho the other night, that was because he was pressed, right, badly. And he made numerous mistakes. And don't forget, he made mistakes in previous games as well, not just the other night. And I just want us to be more adaptable. And against teams that step back, we change the system, like Max said, right? The width comes from the wing backs. We don't have wing backs now, right? They're basically defenders, right? So change the system, right? You can have Kovacic and Kante in the middle like we have, right? Go and sit Mount next to them or Harvard, because Harvard is actually a number 8, right? He
Yeah,
certainly
great input there, Stab, because we have just like 4 minutes or so to round up because we have to finish so that people can go watch the game. I don't mean to cut you off, and I think we're gonna do a live stream based strictly on the system. Max, coming to you quickly, and Felicia, if you don't mind, let's have Max round up for what we have left to discuss so that we can also learn from him. And after that, you can also talk about your channel, and I'll make sure to provide the complete information for your channel in the description section. And Sab, apologies please for cutting you off because we have just a few minutes to round up. I hope you understand, and thank you very much for being a gentleman there. Max, quickly, this question here from Chichi is isn't it difficult to start trying a new system? And also I want you to please talk about the 2 number 8s, whether that's the perfect pairing there, or would you have switched things around a bit, or do you think it's just perfect the way it is? But can you please start with the question on the screen? Isn't it difficult to start trying a new system?
First of all, I don't think it is. And that's because these guys are senior professionals. And so if they're intelligent enough, they should be able to adapt to different types of systems. Tuchel, it's not difficult for Tuchel neither, because if you looked at when he was at PSG, he implemented different styles of play. These guys, it's not as if these guys... Remember, Tuchel implemented this system as soon as he came here. We were playing a 4-3-3 under Frank. He implemented it and changed it within a few days. Okay, and the guys got it within a couple of weeks. So it's work's done on the training ground. He's not going to just stick with one system. He should be working with them on several types of system. And we've changed things in game as well with Tuchel sometimes. So we sometimes go to a 4-3-3, although it's a 3-4-3. We sometimes adapt by in game. If you know, so sometimes one time Reece James went into the middle and someone else switched over to the other side. So we can do that. The players are intelligent enough to do that. Okay, so I don't think it is difficult to implement different systems. We've got, obviously it's a bit difficult for us because we don't have the full week of training during games because we're always involved in midweek.
Yeah.
But for certain styles, what you can do, that's what you had the whole full pre-season with them. He can implement different styles depending on the opposition that we have, and in-game management as well, changing things up, because that's a manager's job to find solutions. You know, we've seen it with Pep and other people. They've found solutions when we've got problems. So that's that separates we don't stick to a good manager doesn't stick to a rigid system. He always finds different solutions. As far as the 8s that we've got in the team, what do you mean, the 2 playing off?
Yeah, the 2 8s are let me share the screen again if you want me.
So I think it's Mount, isn't it? Today it's Mount and Pulisic.
Yeah, it's Mount and Pulisic. Why Havertz sits at the number 9 position? Yeah,
I can see why, because Hudson-Odoi, I think, still coming back from his COVID. The other day, again, he wasn't great in that game, and maybe it's because he's not fit enough. So I prefer Hudson-Odoi's running off the bench when Liverpool are a bit more tired. So we've got a bit more pace in there. And Ziyech, maybe he's been a bit unlucky because he hasn't played a lot. So if we want to refresh the side a bit, there's a question for Ziyech there ahead of Mount. But what Mount gives us, he gives us that sort of more that energy, and he's full of energy all the time. Again,
pressing from the opposition area.
Pressing
Go ahead.
from the front, but Ziyech coming off the bench when the game's a bit more open may work for him as well. But the bench for me, as I said, that's another reason I'm annoyed with this Lukaku situation. We've got Harvey Vale's good player, but we've got another kid on the bench, haven't we? What's his name? Hall. Yeah. So we've got this guy Hall on the bench.
Yeah, Lewis Hall.
Yeah. So I'm not sure whether I think he can play as a wing back as well as a midfield, maybe. So maybe they've brought him in to play as a wing back.
Didn't they both get picked against Brentford?
That's right.
I think they both played against them.
Yeah. But you know what? It will be good to see what the reaction of the players is today because of obviously what's gone on. It'll be good to see what the reaction of the players and the fans are. I'm looking forward to seeing what that reaction is. And I'm just hoping that these players can, in adversity, Chelsea always seem to do well. So I'm hoping that this is a case where, in adversity, the players, come out and give us a good performance.
Brilliant, brilliant. And what a great way to round up the discussion. Max, can you quickly tell us about Burton Ballerz so that I can switch to Felicia? Maybe if Stav has a channel, he will tell us today so that we can round up and go watch the game. And maybe
Yeah.
this guys will get us up to a good start to the new year.
Yeah, Burton Ballerz is my channel. I run it with one of my boys. I've got a boy who supports Chelsea and another one, I don't know, for my sins, he decides to support Arsenal. So I don't include him in my channel. Just the Chelsea fan, he gets included. So we'll sometimes just do some previews where we talk about sometimes the history of the club that many people may not know about as well. So I try to include some of the history of Chelsea in there, as well as sort of my opinions. And also on Twitter under MaxiBCFC. So that's where you can find me. And thanks for having me on, Kachela. Always appreciate it.
No, more thanks to you. You don't know how happy I am. You made it a brilliant show, you and Stav and Felicia. So it's always good to have. And I'll make sure to provide your complete information in the comment section so that people can reach you. And I will mention you. The mention thing works these days, and you get notified that I mentioned you in the comments. Felicia, you go ahead. Tell us about Football Mania with Felicia.
Yes, thank you again. I mean, it's always an honor coming on here. The whole crisis we're going on that's going on in Chelsea right now, we'll still overcome it. I mean, I wish it can be a replica of what happened, after Aubameyang was benched and Arsenal just showed up and then they started being in form. They were winning game after game after game, and we have it in our spirits as Chelsea fans. Nothing can put us down. So if we're able to win this game, I mean, sometimes we might look, sometimes without number 9 and we put false nines, it might look like we don't know what we're doing, but we have won games in the past. This is what people are forgetting. Yes, we're a bit emotional about it, but at the end of the day, hopefully we settle for a win. But even though it's a draw, we'll still, I think, do our best. So check out my channel, Football Mania with Felicia. I'm bringing new content. I want to focus now more on the women's Chelsea Women's Football Club. I'll be bringing some new series, of course, some Chelsea content, previews and reviews. So if you're interested in maybe different perspectives, as Chelsea Perspectives name is, please follow my channel, Football Mania with Felicia, on Twitter at Felicia_C. And it's always an honor coming on here, and always a pleasure.
Yeah, she comes here with a big smile on her face. That shows you how much she loves Chelsea. And it's a pleasure. And on this pregame show, Stav also great input from everybody. You all made it a great show. I will make sure to provide your complete information in the comment section. Stav, I know you are for Chelsea Perspective, maybe, but I'll still put your Twitter handle on there. God bless you all, and may the new year bring us so much success.
Don't go getting me loads of reviews. And why's Felicia wearing red? Get some blue, girl. Get some blue.
All right, we gotta go, guys. Thank you very much, Max.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
I'll speak to you later.
All right,
I'll speak to you later
people.
on.
All right, bye.
Bye, everyone.